Shalum, Shalum, and welcome. This is Endtime Reflections, and if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. In this 75th installment, my brothers and sisters, I want to bring your attention to the words reaching for set-apart ones. Reaching for set-apart ones. My brothers and sisters, I often make many of my podcasts to correspond to one of the purposes that can be found in a specific feast time. In this installment, I'm compelled to believe this message is related to the Feast of Harvest. But before I continue, I want you to know this. The views expressed in these podcasts do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, managers, or shareholders of this media platform. With that said, let's get into it. Reaching for set-apart ones. My brothers and sisters, picture a ship that's sinking. People will scramble for lifeboats and will be reaching for some form of safety, whether it's another person's hand, a rope, or a lifeboat. Believe it or not, the world is sinking. And some of you may wonder, what am I talking about? It's no doubt for those who are aware that Japan sunk a little bit when that tsunami came. There's no doubt in my mind that there are scriptures that talk about mountains made low, lands being destroyed, sinking. My brothers and sisters, even the behavior of man is sinking as the lawless one is active, as described in the scriptures regarding end times. In the time of uncertainty, many people are reaching for set-apart ones. If you were reaching for someone to bind with, to be safe, or to at least finish out this journey with, wouldn't you want it to be someone that will endure with you until the very end? My brothers and sisters, there's no doubt in my mind that there will be a final exodus. There's no doubt in my mind that there will be a rise of 144,000, 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes of Yashar'al, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter. And many people fail and just disregard the rest of the chapter that talks about a great multitude in the 9th verse of that same 7th chapter of Revelation. A great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues. Some have difficulties understanding how can a great multitude in the remnant be one and the same. And as I sought the answers from the Almighty One, I believe that his set-apart spirit, sent in Yahusha's name to teach and guide, provided the answer. A remnant when you compare to the total population, a great multitude when you attempt to count them. Let me get into the feast time that I believe this is in conjunction and connected to or related to. That is the Feast of Harvest. Leviticus 23rd chapter. I will read the 15th through the 22nd verse in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. And from the morrow after Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count for yourselves 7 completed Sabbaths. Until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you count 50 days. Then you shall bring a new grain offering to Yahuah. Bring from your dwellings for a wave offering 2 loaves of bread, 2/10 of an ephah, fine flour that are baked with leaven, first fruits to Yahuah. You see, the Feast of First Fruits came first, my brothers and sisters. And later we see that more and more fruit became ripe. And it says, and besides the bread, you shall bring 7 lambs, a year old, perfect ones, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They are an ascending offering to Yahuah, with their grain offering and their drink offerings, an offering made by fire for a sweet fragrance to Yahuah. And you shall offer 1 male goat as a sin offering, 2 male lambs, a year old, as a slaughter of peace offering. And the priest shall wave them besides the bread of the first fruits as a wave offering before Yahuah, besides the 2 lambs. They are set apart to Yahuah for the priest. And on this same day, you shall proclaim a set apart gathering for yourselves. You do no servile work on it. A law forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. Let me say it again. A law forever in all your dwellings throughout your generation. You see, my brother, I want to pause just for a minute before I read this verse that speaks of the harvest. What we are given is more than just come together and sacrificing an animal or eating bread or fellowship. What we are given, my brothers and sisters, I submit to you, we must understand the dynamics of first fruits. We must understand what harvest is. How do we get first fruits? How do we get a harvest? There are seeds that are planted, guarded, nurtured, protected to produce the end results. And even those seeds, even the things that we eat, there are seeds that are taken to be planted to increase and enlarge the vineyards, the orchards, to provide more food. You see, there are so many details, my brothers and sisters, that we neglect to understand. Let me continue. The 22nd verse. I'm in the 23rd chapter of Leviticus. And when you reap the harvest of your land, do not completely reap the corners of your field when you reap. And do not gather any gleaning from your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the stranger. I am Yahuah, the Almighty One. My brothers and sisters, I want to bring your attention to the Feast of Harvest. Why? Because there is much learning regarding this feast. Before I get into just the tip of what's to learn, let me read the following. John 4:13 and 14. John 4:13 and 14. Yahusha answered and said to her, everyone drinking of this water shall thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water I give him shall certainly never thirst, and the water that I give him shall become in him a fountain of water, springing up into everlasting life. We will understand and learn that the water that the Most High gives us, through the flowing of His Spirit working in us through us in Yahusha's name, we will understand that that's His word. You ever met someone who can endlessly talk about the set-apart word of Yahuah, that can provide something more and more and more each day? This is he or she being used by the Spirit of the Almighty Father, speaking the things of set-apartness. Yashar'al. Oh, set-apart family, it would be wise to realize that Yahusha Mashyach was talking about His living word when He talked about springing up like a fountain of everlasting life. Know this. The Almighty Father Yahuah, His word was made flesh in the person of Yahusha. His Spirit was sent in Yahusha's name, as it speaks of in John 14:26. Now I want to read the following. Revelation 1:8. It says, I'm the Aleph and the Tah, beginning and end, says Yahuah, who is, who was, and who is to come, the Almighty One. It is also repeated. These words are repeated. That was Revelation 1:8. These words were also repeated in Revelation 22:13. I am the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Now, if we consider that Yahuah sent His Spirit in the name of Yahusha, as it is stated in John 14:25 and 26, let me read it. These words I've spoken to you while still with you, but the Helper, the set-apart Spirit, whom the Father shall send in my name, He shall teach you all and remind you of all that I've said to you. And also be mindful of this. John 6:44. No one is able to come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I shall raise him up in the last days. My brothers and sisters, we are often too impatient, lacking when it comes to thirsting after set-apart instructions. We take a little and run with it. We eat a little and believe that that's enough until we stumble and fall. We are distracted in more ways than we can imagine. The time is now to become more focused and seek to discern the living voice of Abba Yahuah's Spirit sent in Yahusha's name. Individuals who grow to earnestly seek set-apartness will begin to receive much wisdom, including one of the purposes of the Feast of Harvest. Here is one example. If I was to tell you to describe as much as you can regarding a grape, which of these will come to mind in your attempt to describe a grape? Would you think about the seeds in which the grape was ultimately came to be? Will you think about planting the nourishing, the watering, the weeding, the protecting the plant, the water, the source of water? Would you think about guarding and protecting the plant from weeds and insects as it progressed to produce the grape? Did it come to mind about watching the plant mature and produce fruit? The whole process, did it come to mind? What about picking the fruit? How are you going to pick the fruit? What are you going to do when you pick it? Do you preserve some seeds to enlarge the vineyard? Did it come to mind knowing the different things that can be done regarding harvest? For example, did you know raisins come from grapes? Did it come to mind to know that in the harvest also seeds can be collected to ensure the vineyard grows as population grows? My brothers and sisters, some of you might say that's too anal, that's too detailed. But as the end times ramp up, we will thirst and hunger for details on what the Almighty Father desires of us. We will seek correct instructions. We will seek to do what we're supposed to do to ensure that we have done all that is ordered of us. Believe it or not, I can go on and on with components of a single grape. My point is that most of us do not have the tolerance nor the patience to learn the fullness of life's cycle until our individual life or a loved one's life is in jeopardy. Let me also read 1 Corinthians 5, 1-5, my brothers and sisters. It is commonly reported that there is horn among you, and such horn is not even named among the nations, so as one to have his father's wife. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1-5. And you have been puffed up and did not rather mourn, so that he who has done this deed be removed from among you. In other words, the simile was just allowing this person to go horn and didn't do anything about it. Probably people saying, oh, I'm not judging anybody. Oh, you ain't supposed to judge anybody. Using excuses not to deal with this person who was horn in the very midst of us. But Shalum says here, for I indeed, as absent in the body, but present in the spirit, have already judged the one who did this as though I was present. And he goes on to say, in the name of our Master Yahusha Messiah, when you are gathered together in my spirit with the power of our Master Yahusha Messiah, deliver such a one to Satan for the destruction of the flesh in order that his spirit be saved in the day of Master Yahuah. I want you to ask your pastor, your bishop, your moray, your teacher, your deacon, your spiritual head, what does it mean, deliver one to Satan for the destruction of the flesh in order that the spirit may be saved? And listen attentively to their response. Most do not have an understanding of this. My brothers and sisters, the scriptures speak to the children of Yahuah. Those who are not part of the set-apart family of Yashar'al, it's not talking to them. They have their judgment. And in due season, judgment day will prove such. The scriptures speak to us. It's talking about deliver a brother or sister to Satan if they're horned, if they're doing wrong. Cast them away. Purge them from your midst or come away from them. You see, my brothers and sisters, think about this. When a grape ripens, and if you've had your fill of grapes, they dehydrate and become raisins. And you've had your fill of raisins, you cast it to the ground. Does that stop the cycle of a grape? No. That raisin cast to the ground. The seeds within it produces more life. And you see, deliver one to Satan for the destruction of the flesh. When you purge someone that is rebellious and wicked, that is a brother or sister, they just caught up and distracted, been led astray by a wicked moray, teacher, pastor, community head. If they've been deceived and misled, and they come to you with bad habits and behaviors and wicked characteristics and actions, you deliver them to Satan so that they flesh, they will begin to feel the pain of being ostracized or purged from the midst of those who are obedient. They will feel the pain. And sometimes out of that pain, as the flesh is being destroyed, they'll repent and seek forgiveness. And there are others who would go to the grave. But that doesn't mean they're not our brother or sister. The scriptures speak to the brothers and sisters. It means they'll wake up on Judgment Day and they will prove to be among the family of Yashar'al. They were just some that have been led astray, that misstepped. So out of death comes life, my brothers and sisters, whether you realize it or not. I'm saying in terms of physical destruction can come one being humbled and raised up, refreshed through the blood of the Lamb. Keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, most of us don't even understand the dynamics of death. Death is a destruction, degradation, or the deliverance of these earthen vessels back to the earth. And life is the stirring and quickening of the spirit that lives forever, either with Yahusha Mashyach or in an eternal flame. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, out of all that is getting ready to happen, reaching for set apart ones is important. We must learn to vet and examine one another. We must learn to know who are we reaching for. What are their expectations? What are their positions? What are they doing? Let me read Ecclesiastes 12:6 and 7. For it reads as this: Remember him before the silver cord is loose and the golden bowl is broken, or the jar shattered, the fountain, or the wheel broken at the well. And the dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to the Almighty One who gave it. It didn't say return to heaven. It said it returns to the Almighty One. He is everywhere at all times, and he has designated a place where those who are our brothers and sisters to rest and sleep until Judgment Day. Now consider this. We are born, we live, we die physically. There will be a day of resurrection, known as Judgment Day. Did you know that the cycle of a grape can produce endless fruit at the words of Abba Yahuah? Have we forgotten Deuteronomy 8:3 that says, And he humbled you, let you suffer, fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, to make you know that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds, that comes from the mouth of Yahuah. I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, the more we are aware, the more we can make wise decisions for fulfilling our life cycle. The more we can make wise decisions as we reach or find ourselves reaching for set apart ones, the better off these final days will be. End times are here, and life as we know it will change. Soon Judgment Day will come, and we will put off these earthen vessels forever, as I mentioned earlier. Between now and then, there's much work to be done, and we will discover why reaching for set-apart ones is related to harvest. We will discover why we must gather together and come away from wicked things and wicked behaviors. Who remembers the life in Matthew 12:25? Matthew 12:25. It reads, And Yahusha knew their thoughts and said to them, Every reign divided against itself is laid waste, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. Witness the power and might of the Almighty Father. Beyond all the propaganda and rhetoric that's telling you there will be a better tomorrow, things will get back to normal. Beyond all the fables and fiction that man is trying to use to comfort and soothe the minds of the unlearned and the undiscerning. This scripture, Matthew 12:25, will prove that the division across the planet will lead to the destruction of the planet in such a way that man would have never thought. My brothers and sisters, soon we will witness a great coming together. We will witness many people discovering that the final Exodus is real. I will soon release a series called The Final Exodus, Countdown 2023. I will explain why. Out of all the recordings and messages, I rarely use dates, but I am compelled to believe that less than 3 years, inside 3 years, the year of 2023, in the month known by the Gregorian calendar as December, but it will be our 8th month of 2023, I believe the final Exodus will come to be. And I will mention why I believe that, what drives me and compels me to believe such. Knowing that we have less than 3 years, there's a lot of work to be done, my brothers and sisters. We must learn that reaching for set-apart ones is imperative for the coming together to fulfill what is written. Anyone who is exposed to the messages that I present, they know I don't normally use dates. But for such a time as this, I am compelled and brought to a moment where I believe wholeheartedly our final exodus will take place inside the next 3 years. It would be wise to come to the understanding why reaching for set-apart ones is necessary for building up the body and coming into unity. O Yashar'al, we must fulfill what is written, and we will. Hear, O set-apart family, the 144,000 great multitude will soon emerge. Let us begin reaching for set-apart ones and receive deliverance from strongholds as we witness the promises of Abba Yahuah be fulfilled before our very eyes. Reaching for set-apart ones will prove to be one of the most challenging times of our lives, such that we don't find ourselves grabbing snakes or wolves, but embracing loved ones. Are we not aware that there will be a great divide? Behold, O set-apart Yashar'al, our redemption draws near. The scroll is closing. In other words, the habitable places on this planet will shrink, and man will return to the region where the promised land is located, where the wicked will gather to march against the set-apart ones of Yahuah. And the set-apart ones of Yahuah will return to the true Mount Sinai, which is currently known as Jabal al-Al, situated in the northwest quadrant of what is now known as Saudi Arabia. There will be those who will fulfill the duties to prove these words to be true. There will be martyrs for Yahusha's name. There will be those led astray. There will be those who will be the last words in areas that will become uninhabitable. So before the final destruction, there will be those telling individuals that this plan is the plan of the Almighty Father Yahuah, who is the beginning and the end. My brothers and sisters, deliverance has begun in this great awakening, and time will prove that extraordinary displays of correction will come, bringing repentance that will lead us under the blood of the Lamb, and we will find ourselves rising up in the power and might of the set-apart spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, stronger than ever imagined, to endure what lies ahead. Be encouraged, my brother, my sister, my family. The realities regarding all that is written, all that is prophesied, is unfolding before our very eyes and will become crystal clear. My brother, my sister, my family, there is much work to be done. Come and join me. Come along as we come together and demonstrate why reaching for set-apart ones is necessary. On that note, I say stay tuned. There's much more to come. Behold, the hand of Yahuah is before us in Yahusha's name. Are you ready? What say you, O listener, to these words? What's your next step? Your questions, your comments, your discussion, your engagement is invited. O Yashar'al, if and only if you believe, your spirit is stirred by the Almighty Father in Yahusha's name to bring us together. On that note, I say, my brothers and sisters, reaching for set-apart ones, let us know how to do that correctly and proceed with expedience, for the days are being shortened and will become even shorter as forced migrations ramp up. Again, I say to you, my brothers and sisters, be encouraged. Our redemption draws near. Until next time, I bid you much. Shalom. Shalom, my brothers and sisters.